Hey guys, I know, back at it again with the terrible lighting, but we're working on it, I promise. I got cut off a little unexpectedly in my last video. Oh, here, there we go. Um, and I was in the middle of sewing this. As you can see, it's like super uneven. Like, I don't know why these are not even the same length, but they're not. Um, you know, all shapes are beautiful. They are not the same length. So I'm gonna have to cut and trim that whole thing later, but for now I'm just sewing on the last strip for this part real quick. And then I have the next set of strips. It's the exact same thing. They just gave me two of each strip, and so I decided to make like a long apron for it. And like they used to have aprons that they would use as like a pot holder. You would just hold hot things in your apron, or you could like make a giant basket and like put bread and fun stuff in there. I want to do. And this is the fabric that I got for like the bib part. Good lord, I'm wearing a white dress and then a blue over thing, and the lighting is still so bad. Um, I don't know if this is just like the angle or what, or I'm just glowing white right now. But anyways, so this will be the top when I get there. And today, as you know, is a little bit of ASMR and a little bit of rambling because that's what I do best, is talk to myself alone in my apartment. Oh, I can't even say that with a straight face. Um, so first we're going to sew a little bit, and then as I get started on the next part, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about cottagecore and slow living and living with chronic illness, and probably touching a little bit on inherited wealth. Wow, these sound like very heavy topics, but I promise it's not going to be stressful. We're just going to chill. So, pour some tea, chill out, snuggle up in bed, do whatever it is you're going to do, and just come join me sewing a little bit. I should have brought tissues because my nose is stuffy. We love this. We love this horrible, horrible weather that's like 80 degrees one day and then 50 degrees the next, and super humid and then super dry. It's great. Alrighty, she is looking good. Well, I say that. And then she has busted her string. And I moved my scissors from over here. I am truly the genius of our time. I'll just cut the threads later. Yeah, thanks. I did that to myself, and yet I still didn't see it coming. Don't like to have thread in my mouth. You could have just cut nicely. There we go. Love having me a little handy dandy knife thingy right there. Blade. Whatever we're gonna call it. There we go. Hey, we got it. We love her. Everybody applaud. So I'm going to take the pin out. I say pin, but I'm still just using a sewing needle because my pins are somewhere. I put them in such safe places that sometimes even I myself cannot find them. So there is the last part of the first part. Honestly, this one's probably my favorite, which is why, my friends, I just now realized, and I do mean just this second, realize that it is the same print. We love a dumb idiot like me. So we're just going to start with the same pattern. We're going to start with the grape one. So let me get that one out. And I wanted to talk a little bit about slow living because I personally suffer from chronic pain. I have a absolutely wonderful fiance who helps pay for things because I am not physically capable of working full-time. And I live in the city right now, unfortunately, because it is the only place that we could afford to live. And rent is not cheap, electricity is not cheap, food is not cheap. I do most of the cooking and cleaning just because I want to. I really like cooking and cleaning. We do love a cottagecore wife. So here we go. We pin the next one. But there are some days, like today, when I am thinking of the goals that I want to accomplish and the places that I want to go and the things that I'd like to do with my life before I die, probably in some climate change, related incident. Not going to name names, but I'm definitely naming names. So before I die, I want to go back to Ireland. I want to move there. And my fiance really likes the UK as well, just in terms of like rural beauty, I suppose I should say. He likes the English countryside. I like the Irish countryside. I have actually done a lot of study over the years of Celtic history and mythologies. I'm still kind of working on getting up to date with what it's like in Ireland now, both in terms of safety, prices, culture, everything. I went for a brief visit in 2019, right before this madness happened. I think I went May, with my aunt, actually, before I had even really started things with my now fiance. And I just fell in love. It was so peaceful and perfect, and we went to all these B&Bs, and I talked to a lot of people that had lived there for a long time, and I just absolutely saw what my life could be like. So I came back and I started scraping up every penny. I will admit I have gotten a little lazy lately. I need to work on saving a little better, budgeting. But I just, every day I try to get a little bit closer. I try to hone my skills so I'll be able to make money in the ways that I know how. I try to eat healthy and do things for myself and for my fiance to make our lives better now. But it's always with the end goal that one day we'll be able to leave America. I have just absolutely no interest in staying in America. And before anyone tries to at me or say something, I could go on and on about the cost of living and the tyrannical government and the lack of living wages. I could go on, so don't try me. But it's, when we boil it down, it's just simply not how I want to live. I don't want to live here. And so today was really, really hard for me because for a good while, I worked as a manager at a craft store. I'm not going to tell you guys the name of because I don't want to try to bother with that publicity. And they were cutting my hours really bad, especially when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I asked for, all I asked for was to not unload truck because it's very heavy work and it hurt and I couldn't do it. and I asked for a chair when I so I could sit at the register when I was being a cashier. Those were all the things that I asked for. So um, they had a chair in the back that worked perfectly fine. I got my really sweet coworker David to carry it up for me every day, because that was another thing. They said I wasn't allowed to leave it up front where it would be accessible for me. I had to put it back in the frame shop at the back every single time I left, and I can't carry it. So I would always get my very nice coworker David or someone else to carry it for me. And then I think about a month and a half after that, after they had cut my hours, not really let me do manager duties, like do anything I was hired for, I was just stuck cashiering all the time. My boss approached me and told me that HR had ruled that they didn't have enough evidence that I was disabled, and they were taking my chair away. So I texted my fiance and I told him that I was going to need to get a new job because I am physically incapable of doing the work that they required of me without the accommodations that I had asked for. I mean, I got diagnosed after 6 years of living with this chronic illness. I had just finally been given a name and a place to start fighting for my own rights. And when I tried to talk to my manager and email HR and all this other stuff, they didn't budge. And so I went and I put in job applications and I interviewed and I waited until I had a job offer in my hand to go put in my 2 weeks notice at the craft store. I did exactly what my dad has told me my whole life. I didn't just jump ship. I wrote out an actual 2 weeks notice, and I waited until I had another job lined up. I did everything right, I thought, and what ended up happening is that I got sick. Well, first my fiance got sick, and I had to stay home to take care of him, and then I got sick immediately, and he had to stay home to take care of me. And so I never did finish my 2 weeks at that craft store. But I had already started the process of onboarding at my new job. And things were going swell, I thought, because they really liked me and they got started on stuff. I was doing my training, did that for 2 days after I was sick. I was only sick for about 3 days, luckily. So after I was sick, and then they called and told me that they had put my information wrong in the system, that they had put me under stylist instead of seamstress because I was set to work in the alterations department. Again, I'm not naming names because I'm still hoping that they'll give me money. There's no other way to say it. I'm still hoping that things will go through. But the fact is, oh my goodness, come on, go. This is so hard. I am not good at this part. There we go. Please go, please. Oh, thank God. Okay. So they told me not to come back until they had gotten fixed in the system. And so I waited 3 days, and I called them and asked them what was going on. And they told me that they were working to change me in the system because right now, if they let me come into work, it would take pay from the wrong bucket. Even though they had stylist and seamstress positions open, I don't know why I couldn't have just, something couldn't have been worked out, because I let them know part of the main reason I was leaving. the craft store was because I could not afford to stay. They weren't giving me hours, and they weren't, they didn't give me the pay raise that they promised, all this stuff. So I communicated that I was really grateful for this job to be starting so immediately. I could come back the next day and start training, all this stuff. And so they told me to wait another 2 days and they would call me. And so I waited the 2 days and I had my ringer on those whole 2 days, which is not something I ever do because I hate having my ringer on. And they never called me. And so I called them the next morning because they told me they would call about 4 p.m. So I called them the next morning, and my supervisor was not available. So I left my name and number and a message, and they assured me that she would get back to me within the day, just give it an hour. And guess what she did not do? I dare any of you give me one guess. She didn't call me back. So I come in the next day, which is today. So it's been it has been a week, full 7 days, Wednesday to Wednesday, that I have not worked because they didn't let me come in while my thing was messed up in the system. This is water, I promise. It's in a sweetened lime container from one of our local stores. But it is water, because I'm very thirsty. I just realized I've been talking for a while. And so I came in today, dressed for work. I had my lunchbox packed. It was going to be perfect, because they had never called me, and they never called me, and they never called me, so I figured I should just show up, and, they'll find something for me to do. That's how it's always been at all of my workplaces. They've never just sent you home. But you know what they did? Is they sent me home. They told me to wait until Saturday, so it will have been a full week and a half. Yeah, week and a half. Since I have worked. Rent's coming up, just paid my car insurance. We not really rolling in it, to say the least. And so I've been putting in other job applications. I've been trying to cover my own butt, and I'm just really hoping and praying that my last paycheck from the craft store that I worked at will be enough to cover my portion of rent and all that business. But it just all kind of compiled today, and I just felt so angry and helpless, because you need money to get out of this country. The poor never get to leave this country. You're just stuck living paycheck to paycheck, paying rent at whatever place you can afford, and you never get to see if there's anything better out there. And I couldn't live with that fact. I will not live with that fact. And so it's just really, really rough today to have to contemplate breaking into my savings to get to Ireland, to get to my, ultimate goal in order to pay rent this month. And so I decided what I needed to do was to put in 3 more job applications, and then after a while I told myself I needed to get off my phone and stop feeling sorry for myself, and I needed to do something. So I decided to work on my apron and talk to you guys a little bit, because actually physically producing things like sewing an apron is always really soothing to me, and that is what circles back to Cottagecore and Slow living, which is that I want to start feeling like I'm living again. I don't like watching a movie on my phone while I eat. I don't like running to work and then working for 8 or 9 hours and then coming home exhausted and not wanting to cook anything. I love cooking. I love cleaning. I love baking. I love making things. I love singing and dancing and all this other stuff that I feel like I don't do anymore because I just don't really have. I feel like I don't have the option. And that's not true. You can make time for most anything. I will say most because it's a lie, the things that they say about everyone having the same 24 hours. Someone who takes the bus does not have the same 24 hours as someone who can hire a private jet. And even just going beyond the huge wealth inequality, someone who takes the bus doesn't have the same 24 hours as someone whose dad bought their first car. I mean, absolutely no hate to people like that because I was really lucky enough that my dad actually bought me my first car and then I just made payments to him. I still paid it off, but he made it possible for me to get to work safely and all that stuff. So I know that I'm speaking from a place of privilege, and I can also say that I will never be privileged enough to not worry. You know what I mean? I'm always going to worry about whether my paycheck will be enough to cover my bills and whether I'll be able to feed my kids when they come along. I mean, I would love to be a mother, but morally that feels so wrong right now. To bring a child into the world this messed up. And, of course, I know that it would tie me once again to America because if it's hard enough to leave when you don't have inherited wealth, it's really hard to leave when you have a child on your hip. Hi, Kitty. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that's one of the neighborhood cats. I don't know. I have not named them. I don't know how well you guys can see. But there's actually a really cute cat. Sorry. Yep, enjoy my hand. There we go. It's a really cute cat that I named Bubby because he has a little short stumpy tail and I love him. He's another neighborhood cat here. But what was I saying? Oh, ADHD be like. Oh yeah. I would really love to be a mother, but it would tie me to America, and also nobody can afford that right now. Like, if I thought I was living paycheck to paycheck now, if you try to add in a child taking off work for at least a month, I would say probably 2 months. 1 month before you have the kid, 1 month after is the bare minimum. Just all that. And so that's just another thing that I think is so wrong about America. You can't even afford your natural right to procreate. And I don't know if that's the right term. I've just heard it, natural right to procreate. I don't know if that's offensive, so I'll check on that. But that's kind of, I agree with that. I agree that as a person on this earth, I should have the right to have a child without asking myself if I'm dooming myself and it to a life of poverty in America. Like, that's just, oof. But, so I'm just trying to make sure that I get back on track with maybe getting another job. I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait on this one, and I really can't afford to. So, I'll probably take any offer that comes up if it has good benefits. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to kind of connect back with myself, do the things that I love, that make me feel centered, do things to make this more of a happy household. Yes, I know our Christmas tree is still up, but that's because my fiance really, really loves the holidays. And we got started really late. I think it was already like December 20th whenever we started decorating because we were just way too busy with stuff with his family and stuff with my family. There was just a lot of problems going on. So we decided to keep it up for probably the rest of January. Oh no, I've been messing this up. Oh, okay, so we're gonna lift the presser foot and we're gonna see how badly I messed this up. This is gonna be so fun. Okay, so what happened is that I did not align this piece as well with this piece as I thought I did, so up here is when it started structurally messing up. So I am going to go back and seam rip that and put that back together as best I can. You know what, actually maybe I don't even need to seam rip it. It matches up really, really well right there. So I might just fix that up right here and then... Okay, I get it. Don't do this. There we go. It's like, please don't snap on me again. Like, my guy, you don't have to do it. Okay, so we're almost there. And you know, that's just kind of, that's a natural part of making things and going about things in this life is the fact that you're going to mess up. And I think this is actually a really good reminder of that because, I mean, no one likes to mess up. No one likes to fail. No one likes to have things go wrong. But they are going to happen, and I think learning to handle them with grace is something that I need to practice more. I think it's something we can all practice more. So I guess this was just more for you guys to kind of, I don't know, contemplate with me. I don't have an answer other than take some time to rest and do things that make you feel connected with yourself. Learn to handle your falls with grace. I'm still working on that, and I will probably be working on that for the rest of my life. And that your version of what you want your life to be should always be your goal. Like, losing sight of that goal will not, it won't do anything but make sure you never reach the life you want. And that's something I have to remind myself of quite often, which is enjoy the life you have now, but always keep your eyes on what you want your life to be. And take those steps every day, whether it's a couple dollars in savings or trying out a new recipe that you've seen. Okay, see, yeah, you can't even see the seam. That's really good. So that turned out all okay. And also, what is up with this? This is just... I feel like we're getting less and less fabric. And this is the other side. This is the perfectly reasonable, normal amount of fabric. Everything is matched up side. Like, we don't have any of that weird pyramid thing going on. It's like a staircase, like a really bad steep staircase. And so, yeah, for all my cottagecore babes, put on a playlist, Google new recipe, try to do something fun. And I still messed it up, you guys. We love this. Time to do this again. But, again, that's just one of those facts of life that you gotta figure out. and probably God telling me to pin my projects more. But this has never happened, and um, and I probably will not learn from this. Okay, I will not start pinning because of this. I will learn from it, and I will do better next time, but I will not start pinning. And this time, I'm going to sew on the black side instead of the other side, so maybe, just possibly, I can get this set correctly. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you all for being here. I know my last video ended super abruptly, and I think it's because my phone ran out of storage. I do not know. Um, but I really loved having each and every one of you here. I hope this was, if not calming, I suppose informative. Or at the very least, just that you felt that your time was well spent by watching. So, I love you all, whether there's 2 of you watching or hopefully someday 200 some odd something. And I hope you guys have a good day. I love you.